Most people hide. They hide from failure, from hard conversations, from their own potential. They hide behind, "I'm not ready. Maybe later. I don't know how." They run from pressure. They dodge mirrors. They pretend to be busy, pretend to be trying, pretend to care. I didn't. I walked straight into the shitstorm. Not because I was brave, because I was done running. Launch minus 23 days. Fluorescent lights buzzed like anxious bees, the prototype wheezed on the bench, and senior executives sharpened blame behind their smiles. The error log read like a confession note: thermal overload, data corruption, cascade failure. My team avoided eye contact, each of them calculating how far they could retreat without being noticed. Most people hide from public disgrace, massage the metrics, rewrite the narrative, pray the room forgets. I stood, slid the post-mortem across the table and read it aloud, flaw by catastrophic flaw. No tremor in my voice, no apology in my eyes. Accountability is lighter than denial once you decide to carry it. I ended the meeting by stapling every failure chart to the lobby wall. Visitors flinched. Interns whispered that I'd lost it. Maybe I had. Sanity is overrated if it keeps you average. Before corporate battlegrounds, there was the high school regional track final. One false start, then another. Automatic disqualification. 20 teammates stared like I'd torched their scholarships. I asked the official if I could sit on the infield and watch. 30 minutes beneath a merciless sun, I observed every sprinter's launch angle, listened to how fast confidence evaporates when the gun goes off. Humiliation became a masterclass because I wouldn't look away. That day, I learned, if you keep your eyes open while you bleed, the pavement teaches. Failure is loud, but the repair work is silent. The office emptied at midnight. By 2 a.m., it was me, the janitor, and the cooling fans. Red failure bars on the dashboard punched like ribs, but I absorbed each hit and stayed in the pocket. Unit tests, benchmarks, refactors, over and over until the graph changed color or my vision blurred. Most people call it grinding. I call it calibration. Pain is just data when you log it correctly. Bright stage lights, investors stacked like jurors, prototype humming on a pedestal. I prayed for resistance, not applause. Pressure reveals leaks faster than praise. Mid-demo, a sensor spiked past the safety threshold. I announced the breach to the room before the alarm sounded, killed the process, swapped in the redundant module, and restarted the sequence in 48 seconds. The audience gasped as the system stabilized. I didn't. Emotion fogs precision. I kept the lens clear. When the applause finally arrived, it felt unnecessary. Confirmation of what I'd already proven to myself at 2 a.m. A week later, the CTO, legendary for eviscerating unprepared engineers, asked why our backlog burndown lagged. Most would fold into excuses. I laid out diagnostic diagrams until the conference table looked like an autopsy slab. We're slow because the architecture was built for last decade's traffic, I said. Fix it, he replied. I will, but I need root access and no ceiling on overtime. Done. Don't drown. Negotiation finished in 90 seconds. Surgical. Unemotional. Exact. We weaponized chaos. Every Friday I triggered black swan drills, pulled live servers, corrupted packets, starved message queues. Engineers cursed my name. Some quit. The ones who stayed learned to breathe thinner air. We didn't wear headphones, we wore helmets. The lab became an arena chalked with warboards, attack vectors, countermeasures, timestamps of every defeat turned lesson. Confidence, number calculation, Emotions dull the edge. Numbers hone it. My journals from that era look like crime scene files. Dates circled in red, arrows linking missteps to hypotheses, sticky notes testing my own habits. Wake at 0445 instead of 0500. No caffeine after 1400. Audiobooks at 1.5 times during the commute. Brutal self-surveillance. Progress becomes inevitable when every day ends on the dissecting table. Friends texted about brunch, beaches, birthdays. I answered with silence. They translated silence as arrogance. They were half right. Arrogance against stagnation. You can't broadcast every battle. Signal leakage costs victories. Mastery is imbalance harnessed. Literal bleeding happened too. A soldering iron slip seared my forearm. Code reviews filleted my pride. Wounds are tuition. I paid promptly. The ribbon-cutting ceremony marketing wanted never happened. Instead, we handed journalists safety goggles and ran stress tests at 120% projected load. The product didn't just survive, it devoured. Reviewers called it over-engineered. I called it breathing room for the future. Most companies scramble for patches after customers complain. We hunted for flaws before users knew to fear them. Predators, not prey. Success did not grant immunity. It bred higher stakes. 6 months later, we prepared a firmware overhaul that would decide whether our machines entered the medical market or stayed toys for enthusiasts. Regulatory auditors descended with clipboards sharp enough to pierce armor. One undocumented commit and the approval window would slam shut for 5 years. Consultants? Number, we transformed the audit into a stress test, every regulation mapped to unit checks, every vague guideline distilled into a binary pass/fail. I slept on an exercise mat under my desk, so I could wake in the dark and chase phantom warnings before they grew fangs. When the lead auditor requested documentation, we handed him a live dashboard. Real-time traceability, green lights cascading like a stock ticker. He hunted for loopholes and found mirrors. Inspection concluded 2 days early. He told me he'd never met a team that hunted its own weaknesses so aggressively. I told him weakness should fear me more than I fear oversight. Between product cycles, I practiced an exercise I call mirror drills. I'd lock the office door, face the glass, and interrogate myself out loud. What compromise did you justify today? What critical feedback did you cushion for ego? Which shortcut masqueraded as efficiency? Answering hurts. That's the point. Bruises on the psyche harden into calluses ready for the next blow. Most people journal for mindfulness. I journal for evidence, admissible in the court of my own ambitions. One night, the CI pipeline failed at 87%. Tired eyes decided to rerun in the morning. I overruled them, forcing a complete teardown until we located a single errant dependency sneaking through a transient package. That fix prevented what would have been a catastrophic production outage 3 weeks later. Discipline at 3 a.m. is cheaper than apologies at prime time. Not every confrontation ends in applause. A keynote last winter turned hostile when a questioner accused our practices of glorifying burnout. The audience murmured agreement. Everyone wants success without the blood. I answered calmly. Burnout happens when you push against your nature. Mine is to push into it. If your nature differs, honor it. But don't project your fear of the mountain onto those of us who train at altitude. Some booed, many took notes. Either reaction serves. Attention is currency. Unused potential is debt with compounding interest. Each time you hide, that interest accrues until the weight bankrupts your character. I refuse to owe that debt. If the ledger shows an unused skill, I deploy it. If it shows a weakness, I dissect it. That's why my calendar looks surgical. Blocked hours for skill acquisition, tactical recovery, deep work. Rest is a weapon when scheduled with intent, not surrendered to distraction. There's a speed beyond which the air feels solid. Pilots call it the Mach tunnel. Entrepreneurs call it momentum. Once you hit it, every hesitation is a parachute. I cut cords daily. Meetings without agendas, declined. Partnerships born of fear, dissolved. Emotional baggage, unpacked, sorted, incinerated. Hesitation is expensive when you're traveling that fast. Folding is the blink before the penalty shot, the tremor over the resignation letter, the finger hovering instead of pressing send. Microdeaths. I've died thousands and resurrected in the same heartbeat because I refused the coroner's pen. While they ducked, I swung. While they hesitated, I moved. While they hid, I confronted. Confrontation isn't noise, it's exposure. Daylight on mold. My journal is a ledger of mistakes followed by invoices of lessons. Pain pays interest when you invest it. Competitors copied features we pioneered. Analysts called it flattery. I called it the bell for round 2. We refactored before they finished cloning. That's the reward for staring at your reflection under stadium lights. You evolve faster than imitators can plagiarize. Collateral damage. Friendships diluted, habits euthanized, comforts executed. Necessary amputations. You cannot sprint wearing sentimental ankle weights. I don't glamorize grind. I weaponize it. Glamour seeks applause. Weaponization seeks results. The grind is toxic only when it's directionless. Mine is a scalpel, never a sledgehammer. At a tech conference, an ex-colleague cornered me over craft beer. He wore the relaxed grin of someone who'd chosen balance. "Was it worth sacrificing your 20s?" he asked. I tipped my glass, letting foam spill between us. "Most people hide from their potential and call it happiness," I said. "I faced mine and call it life." He laughed, uneasy, and walked away. Some conversations are designed to dislocate comfort. Every dawn I meet the mirror with the same ledger: wins, losses, unspent potential. If the balance tilts toward comfort, I declare bankruptcy and start over. That's why I'm still standing, and that's why they're still watching. Visibility is inevitable when you march through storms others sketch detours around. You want a secret? There isn't one. There is only the arithmetic of effort. Action minus excuse. Progress. Most people balance the equation to 0 by adding equal parts fear. I canceled the subtraction. You'll never outwork someone who's not afraid to face what you're still running from.